So what's it take to be a Paragon, and do you have what it takes? Let's talk about it. Hey, welcome to Around the Fire. My name is Saint Godric. I am so excited for this conversation today because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. Today we are talking about Paragons. Now, if you're not familiar with the term Paragon, it comes from the game of Amtgard, a boffer LARP in the United States, probably the largest one in the United States. And the term Paragon denotes that you are a master of a particular class in that game. There's a dozen or so. And if you have the term Paragon, it means that you are one of the best in your area, in your kingdom, in that particular class. So Paragon has a very long history. It started off as Master in previous rules editions, and then it was recently changed to Paragon in version 8, which came out, 10, 15 years ago, something like that. You can find Paragons on the field because the class sashes that they wear are silver trimmed. And generally, what this means is that you're the best on the field. Now, other kingdoms, though, in different kingdoms had different requirements, I guess is a right word for this. Each kingdom kind of had their own particular way that they gave Paragon. Some kingdoms would only give one Paragon to a person, others would give many. Some would overvalue, in my opinion, certain aspects of what it meant to be a Paragon. Some would undervalue on the other side. And it was okay for a really, really long time that each kingdom, each little region did Paragon their own way, because it was just a for fun title. It was kind of like a nobility title. It didn't lead to a ladder award. It didn't lead to a knighthood. And so if your kingdom did Paragon different than my kingdom, that was okay. It wasn't the end of the world, because Paragon was just a for fun award for the longest time. But now, with the advent of Battlemaster and the Knight of Battle, one of the suggested criteria is a Paragon for your 8th, a second Paragon for your 9th, and a third Paragon for your Battlemaster, among a bunch of other things that are in there. So this kind of poses an issue, right? If each kingdom is going to be doing Paragon differently, but now it is going to be funneling towards what people are getting their masterhood and later their knighthood for, we need to make sure that we have a standard. And the goal of this video is to kind of get that conversation started. I'll present to you what I think Paragon should be, and I would love for your interaction down in the comments below. If you agree, disagree, let me know what you think. What does it take to be a Paragon? So in my experience, there's kind of 3 things that mainly get lumped together when we're talking about Paragons and who should be one and who shouldn't. The first of that is skill. This one's pretty straightforward. Who's good, who's not at playing that class? A second one that often gets lumped in there is teaching. Does this person teach new players or teach classes about their favorite class? And then the third thing is going to be like role play and your costume. These are going to be things that are kind of lumped together into the look and feel of your class. And in my experience, different kingdoms all around the game would rate and balance each of these 3 categories differently. Some kingdoms would put skill at 90%. Other kingdoms would put the look and feel and the A&S at 80%. And again, back when it was a regional award, that was okay. But now, I don't think that it is. Because it's okay if we have some kingdoms that are a little off from others. Like, for instance, a Master Gardener in one kingdom might be an 8th in the neighboring kingdom, and that's okay. Warlord might be one thing here and one thing over here. But they're generally close enough, if that makes sense. The problem with right now with battle is in Paragons leading to Orders of the Battle, I've seen people get 9ths in Paragons who in their kingdom is a 9th. But if you go to the neighboring kingdom, that's a 4th or a 5th at best. And now that those are funneling into masterhoods, which are going to funnel into knighthood, I think we need to have this conversation. So what I want to start with, I want you to think on a rate on 100%, right? What does your kingdom value when it comes to Paragon? For instance, are you 40% skill, 30% teaching, and then whatever's left on the look and feel? Does your kingdom value skill? Does your kingdom value the look and feel and the role play? Does your kingdom value teaching? And then in what percentages does it value those things? What I want you to do is pause this video, think about that for a moment, and then come back once you have your answer. So you thought about it, you've got your answer. What I want you to do now is go down into the comments and put your kingdom and put your percentages. 25% this, 75% this, whatever. I want to just get the conversation started. So go ahead and get that going down in the comments below. Now, for me, there's a a pretty clear delineation of these in my head. The first thing I want to get out there, teaching for me, it should not be a requirement for Paragon, in my opinion. No other award in our game requires teaching on your way up, right? Garber, for instance, doesn't say I need to teach a class to get from 7th to 8th. Warlord, we don't expect our 8th warriors to be teaching. We expect that of Knighthood, right? Someone who has already earned their masterhood and then they are trying to peek into Knighthood. That is when we expect them to start teaching. We don't expect people to teach on their way up. And for me, for that, just to be consistent in the game, I don't think teaching at all has a spot in Paragon. It has nothing to do with it. If your kingdom puts a huge value on teaching, I would recommend that you reevaluate that because that doesn't line up with any of the other awards that we have in our game. Next up, I put the look and feel, your garb and your roleplay at 20%. I do think that this is important. If you're walking out on the field in your fighting company garb and you just throw a sash on and I can't tell what class you're playing from across the field, I think you're doing a detriment to the game. I do want our Paragons to, when I look at them, to know what they're playing. And if you're a wizard, put a wizard hat on. If you're playing a healer, get maybe like a holy symbol of some sort. If you're warriors and the melee classes are a little bit easier, if you're playing a barbarian, right, get some furs and chew on some Alka-Seltzer, like make it known that you are playing the class that you are a Paragon in or are trying to get a Paragon in. If you're not doing that, I think that is a detriment. But on the other hand, I don't think that this should be the majority of what it should be. I think it's important, but it shouldn't be a deciding factor. I shouldn't be able to, like if I'm trying to get an assassin Paragon, I shouldn't be able to go get all blacked out garb and go buy a mask and then go buy 2 short swords and then, sneak around on the battlefield, and that's 75 or 80% of what it takes to get Paragon for assassin. I don't think that works, right? Off the field stuff. If I go and I kill the king a bunch of times in court, that's fun, and that could be a part of what Paragon is. But in my opinion, it shouldn't be the main thing, because I think the main thing, 80% of it should be around skill. And when I say skill, I can kind of break that into a few different categories to help clarify what I mean by that. First up, you got to be good. I think you got to know your abilities. If you're a warrior and you're only using one ability, you're probably not going to get Paragon. Now, hear me, I don't think that you should know all of them. I don't think you should have to know all of them, especially in the case of the casters. Right? If you're a baller spellball wizard and you're winning kingdom level games and competitions all the time as spellball wizard, I wouldn't expect you to know how to play the runaround battle mage wizard, but I don't expect you to be baller at both of those. I think if you're winning on one particular playstyle of your class, that's good enough for me. As long as you have working knowledge and can answer questions around the other types and be able to fill in if your team needs it, I think that's important. But you gotta know your spells, you gotta know your class abilities. That's just like a bare minimum of Paragon for me. Probably the most important thing though for me is after we go out on a kingdom field and we've separated out the teams, and I'm looking across the field at who's on the other side of the battlefield for me, and I'm looking through and I see somebody, and I have to then turn and grab 3 of my players and say, look, your job for this game is to sit on and disrupt this wizard. Because if you don't, we're going to have a very hard time playing. Or I'm going to go and I'm going to look and say, oh, this warlord over here is playing paladin, he's got shark mail on, this is going to be a problem. You 3 or 4 people over here, your job is match this warlord playing paladin and 3 points of armor, no matter where he goes. I need you to be doing that on the field. If I look across the field and I'm just zimming past you and I think, man, I don't got to worry about him, I don't got to prep about her, there's no issue here, they're not going to just crush the field, I can go and win the game without even putting any energy or thought into them. That's not what we want to see. Our Paragons should be the ones who are wrecking the field, who we have to play around and plan around. And later on, I'll do a video on Battlemaster, and essentially my criteria here for Battlemaster are very similar. It's just doing it on a bunch of different roles. But we'll get to that. If you want to see that video, make sure you comment down in the comments below, and I'll get on that video right away. Now, a third thing that I think when I think of skill, I want you to be winning. Now, you don't have to win every game, but when you're on the field playing your particular class, your main, you should be winning more often than not. If you're playing warrior and your whole persona and everybody knows you as the warrior and you've got all this armor, but you're winning 10% of your kingdom level games, I think there's an issue with that. I think that there's a skill a skill that's not there that I'm not comfortable with giving a Paragon out to. I want you to be good, and I want you to win more often than not when you're on your main. Hey, post-production Godric here. I forgot a point, and I think it's important, and I want to make it. If you're a part of one of those kingdoms that doesn't put much look and feel, much effort into the way that you look in the role play, I think you need to up your game. I think we need to raise the bar a little bit. We do need our Paragons to look and feel like the classes that they're going to play. Challenge for you, bump that bar up. If you're a kingdom, though, who doesn't put much in the skill, if that's the main thing that you're focusing on is the look and the feel, my challenge for you, need to bump the bar up. I want to see more skill out of those kingdoms. So to recap all of that, your look and feel matters. Get good guard. Get something that's going to designate who you are on the field. I think that should be 20% of the total thing. Your role play should be a part of that as well. But 80% of it should just be how good you are at the game itself. And make sure, and I defined what that meant. I don't think teaching matters in this. Teaching should not be included when it comes to Paragon. It's not included in any other metric of someone climbing the ladder, so it shouldn't be included here. So what do you think? What am I missing? What did I leave out? If you liked this video, make sure you like it, subscribe, comment down below, share this to your Paragon circle, share this on your kingdom page. Even if you disagree with the things that I came out with, my end results here, my conclusions, even if you disagree with those, go ahead and share it around and type that you do disagree. I don't want people to think exactly like I think, but I want to get a conversation started around what does it mean to be a Paragon in Amtgard, because I think that this conversation is important and it's needed because it now leads to Orders of the Battle, which now leads to a Masterhood, which now leads to Knighthood. So my name is St. Godric. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Peace. Thank you.